believe that the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously. And not in the old world order way that most companies currently do this, which goes, we make money here, and then we do good by writing checks to causes to clear our conscience over here. But the new world order way of we make money because we do good. We find a way to integrate social responsibility into the way we do business on a day-to-day basis that therefore makes it a key driver of future growth and profitability. Because I want to see a world where the more good you do, the more money you make, and the more money you make, the more good you do. So I am here today to talk to you about why every single one of you in this audience needs to set out to do a shit ton of good and make a shit ton of money. And here are the 3 reasons why you absolutely must make that shit ton of money. The first is that I know there are a bunch of you here who either are working on or want to work on ventures that do social good. Non-profits get marginalized. Nobody takes them seriously. People come to me with ideas, and I say to them, do not do this as a non-profit, do it as a for-profit. So think about that and don't start a non-profit to do good. The second reason is, actually, we as women do not get taken seriously until we get taken seriously financially. I want to see women raising as big rounds of money for their ventures as we see male founders doing all the time. I want to see a whole bunch of women making huge exits with their startups, and I want to see a whole bunch of women up there in the rarefied tech billionaire stratosphere with Larry and Sergey and Mark and Evan and Travis. So do it for us, because I cannot even begin to tell you how quickly all of those barriers we've all talked about over those 2 days will fall away for all of us when we prove that women can make a shit ton of money. And the third reason is, it's really important that you make money because then you can fund the rest of us. When any of us makes money, that enables us to then help all the others. At the moment, I'm having to put everything I have and have put everything I have into my startups, but I want to fund women entrepreneurs. And so we all need to make money so we can all do the same. So I'm going to talk to you about 6 things that you need to do in order to make this happen. And the first one is, realize that your business model can be anything you want it to be. And I make that point because I observe too many people either thinking, there is only one business model for my sector, this is the way you make money and this is the only way you will always make money, or there are a set number of business models out there and I have to operate one of those. Neither is true. Your business model can be anything you want it to be, and in fact, a really good way to approach it is to ask yourself, how would I like to make money? And then design your business model around that. Now, everything I talked to you about on this stage today, I'm doing myself. I'm trying, I'm experimenting, I'm failing, and so I designed my own business model. Because I believe the business model of the future is shared values plus shared action equals shared profit, financial profit and social profit. In other words, when brands and businesses and companies come together with their consumers, their audience, on the basis of values that you all share, which, by the way, is the single most important requirement for a good relationship in life as much as business. You will never truly bond if you don't share the same values. And if you are then enabled to collaboratively and collectively co-act on those values, you can then make things happen together in the real world that will benefit consumers, benefit society, and benefit the brand and its business. And the most important word there actually is values, because everything starts with you, and everything starts with your values and how that sets the agenda for your business. So, because I believe this is the business model of the future, I created a startup called IfWeRanTheWorld, which is co-action software designed to help businesses implement this business model. If you go to the homepage of IfWeRanTheWorld, you will see it's deliberately Google-esque in its simplicity. All it says is, if I ran the world, I would, and a box, nothing else. And that's because this is a site you cannot access unless you answer the question, if you ran the world, what would you do? Because that question is a very good way of teasing out your values, your beliefs, and what really matters to you. And in fact, when my tech team brought me the homepage while building the site, they said to me, Cindy, we've designed it the way you asked us to, but we think people are going to be quite fazed when they land on this. And so we've put a button in the box so that we show them there's somewhere else to go when they've filled in the box. And I said, no, take the button out of the box. I want people to be fazed because I want our landing page to force a few moments of what very rarely happens in our lives today, which is self-reflection. If We Ran the World is built around the concept of the micro-action. The micro-action is our atomic unit, in the same way the tweet is the atomic unit of Twitter. A micro-action is like the action equivalent of 140 characters or less. It's an incredibly small, simple, easy-to-do action, so easy to do, why wouldn't you do it? And all I'm doing there is I'm repurposing common sense, because everything in life and business starts with a micro-action. And micro-actions are important because change happens from the bottom up, not the top down. Everything you've heard about at Inspirefest, if you wait for the guys at the top to change things, you're going to wait for a very long time. Change happens through micro-actions that every one of us undertakes every day to change things. So your business model can be anything you want to be, and your business can be anything you want it to be, because you cannot do new world order business from an old world order place. All companies are old world order places, including many tech companies, because their systems and processes and structures are born of a time when the process used to be linear. And now everything's changed, but the systems and processes and structures still haven't. So if you take everything you've heard at Inspirefest and go back to your offices, your companies, and plug all of that inspiration, disruption, brilliance into old world order systems and processes, you'll get the same old world order crap out the other end. So you need to redesign your business to be what you want it to be, and a really easy way to do that is to do just two things. Ask yourself first, what do I love doing, what am I passionate about? If you're in a job currently, be ruthless, strike from the record everything you hate doing, focusing only on what you love doing. And by the way, when you do that, you will often find that what you love doing in your job is not necessarily numbers 1, 2, and 3 on your job spec. So identify what you love doing, and then identify the conditions under which you most love doing it. So you might go, I love doing this, but I particularly love it when I only do it between these hours. I love it when I only do it working with these kinds of people, these kinds of clients. Maybe you really love it doing it only from this one location, or these two locations. And then design an opportunity, a job, a venture around those two things, because then it never feels like work. You're doing what you most love doing in the way and in the circumstances that you most love doing it. And something else to bear in mind when you redesign business to be what you want it to be is that what you see around you currently in every sector is the syndrome I call collaborative competition. Collaborative competition is when everybody in a sector competes everywhere else in the sector by doing exactly the same thing everyone else in the sector is doing. Bad idea. The future instead is competitive collaboration. By which I mean when all of us come together in a sector in the way that we don't see currently, in order to collaborate, to help each other on the premise of a rising tide floats all boats. That is what then allows each of us off the top of that to be uniquely competitive, leveraging our own individual skills and talents. All of you have come together over these past 2 days at Inspirefest. We have a fantastic opportunity to competitively collaborate, to design the businesses that we'd like to create. The third point is, understand that the bigger the problem, the more money there is to be made solving it. I date younger men. They tend to be men in their 20s. And through dating younger men, I began realizing about 7 or 8 years ago that I was encountering an issue that would quite honestly never have crossed my mind if I'd not encountered it very intimately and personally. I realized I was encountering what happens when two things converge. When today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex, and results in porn becoming, by default, the sex education today in not a good way. So I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I want to do something about that. So 6.5 years ago, I put up a tiny, clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that posts the myths of hardcore porn and balances them with reality. The construct is porn world versus real world. I had the opportunity to launch Make Love Not Porn at TED. I took a deliberate decision to be very explicit in my TED talk because I knew that audience would not get this issue unless I was very straightforward about it. As a result, I am to this day the only TED speaker to have uttered the words "come on my face" on the TED stage, 6 times in succession. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove an extraordinary response to Make Love Not Porn. And the response was so extraordinary, I felt a personal responsibility to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. I saw an opportunity to do what we're talking about, for a huge business solution to a huge, untapped global social need. Make Love Not Porn is not anti-porn. The issue isn't porn. The issue is the total absence of an open, honest conversation around real-world sex. And so our mission is purely and simply to get people to talk about sex. Talk about it openly and honestly in the public domain, and talk about it openly and honestly privately in your intimate relationships. And so I decided to take every dynamic that exists out there in social media currently and apply them to the one area that no other social platform will ever go, in order to make real-world sex and the discussion around it socially acceptable, and therefore just as socially shareable as anything else we currently share on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. So 2.5 years ago, my team and I launched MakeLoveNotPorn.tv, which is an entirely user-generated, crowdsourced video sharing platform that celebrates real-world sex. Anybody from anywhere in the world can submit videos of themselves having real-world sex, and we're very clear what we mean by this. We're not porn, we're not amateur, we're building a whole new category that does not currently exist. Our competition isn't porn, it's Facebook and YouTube, or it would be if Facebook and YouTube allowed for sexual self-expression. So this isn't about performing for the camera, but just about capturing what goes on in the real world in all its funny, messy, glorious, silly, wonderful, beautiful humanness. We curate, watch every video to make sure it's real, and we have a revenue-sharing business model. We're part of the sharing economy, just like Uber and Airbnb. You pay to rent and stream real-world sex videos, and 50% of that income goes to our contributors, or as we like to call them, our Make Love Not Porn stars. Because we want our Make Love Not Porn stars one day to be as celebrated as YouTube stars for the same things: authenticity, realness, individuality, and to make just as much money. I have to say, I did not realize when I embarked on this venture that my team and I would fight a battle every single day to build it. Essentially because every piece of business infrastructure any other startup could at least take for granted, we can't, because the small print always says no adult content. And so I'm fighting this battle very publicly, because the answer to everything that worries people about porn is not to shut down, censor, clamp down, block, repress, it's to open up. Open up the dialogue in the way that we're doing. Open up to welcoming, supporting, and funding entrepreneurs who want to disrupt this world for the better, and open up to allowing us to do business on the same terms as everybody else. And so one of the things I say to try and open up minds is, oh my God, the money to be made. But the money's made in 2 areas, the second one of which no one ever thinks about, because no one thinks it's possible. The first area is obviously sex. We all have it, we all enjoy it, recession-proof, market never goes away. But the second area is, oh my God, the money to be made out of socially acceptable sex. When you do what we're doing with Make Love Not Porn, socialize sex, make it socially acceptable and socially shareable, you potentially double, triple, quadruple your returns when you normalize people feeling really okay about publicly buying into your goods and services, publicly doing what they do with everything else, advocate, share, recommend, and publicly badging themselves as brand ambassadors. That's the billion-dollar future that we're going after. And the demonstration of how viable that is that right now, the highest income grossing author in the world is E.L. James. The author of 50 Shades of Grey has out-earned Dan Brown, Michael Crichton, Jim Patterson. 50 Shades of Grey, the movie, broke box office opening weekend records. That is the financial power of socially acceptable, socially shareable sex. The bigger the problem, the more money you stand to make out of it. Now, as I said, my team and I fight a battle, and that's why the 4th principle for all of you is, When you have a truly world-changing startup, you have to change the world to fit it, not the other way around. I am in the Steve Jobs business of reality distortion. Reality tells me I can't scale and grow Make Love Not Porn to the billion-dollar business I intend to be. I'm going to change reality. I'm working to raise a round of funding at the moment, as you heard Anne say, and my biggest obstacle doing that is the social dynamic that I call fear of what other people will think. It is never what the person I'm talking to thinks. When you understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, nobody can argue with it. It's always their fear of what they think other people will think. And by the way, fear of what other people will think is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business and in life. You will never own the future if you care what other people think. And so I am setting out to break down the barriers in my path by changing that and by making the world fit what we want to do, not the other way around. The fourth thing you have to do is break the closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys. Men in the audience, women, bear with me, I just want to talk to men for a moment. Men, it's very comfortable hiring people like you. It's very comfortable co-founding businesses with people like you. It's very comfortable hanging out with people like you. It's very comfortable working with people like you. But if you want to own the future, men, you have to be prepared to get uncomfortable. Because the future is gender equal, and working with women is uncomfortable. Because we're other. We have different perspectives, different mindsets, different worldviews. Women ask the tough questions in business and in life. What are you thinking? Where is this relationship going? Or in business, why are we spending money on that? Why does everybody in the meeting fall silent when this person starts talking? But out of that discomfort comes greatness. Women challenge the status quo because we are never it. If you want to do one single thing right now to set your company on a more innovative, disruptive path, it's really easy. One micro-action. Take a long, hard look at your company, identify every area in it that is all male and male-dominated, change that. Just doing that one thing will instantly set your business on a more innovative and disruptive path. The business of the future is female-informed. And that's for two very, very fundamental reasons. The first is that women buy. We are the primary purchasers in every single product sector and the primary influencers of purchase in every single product sector. For example, including, by the way, sectors traditionally thought to be male. For example, in the US right now, and this has been the case for the past couple of years, more women hold driver's licenses than men. More women are driving than men. In the all-important millennial new car buying market, which is where car mark loyalty is set, 53% of all millennial new car buyers are female. But who is the automotive industry targeting their advertising, their apps, and their businesses at? Women buy and women share. Social media is simply a whole new methodology for us to do what we've been doing since the dawn of time, which is sharing the shit out of everything in a way that men don't. We are the chatters, the gossipers, the recommenders, the talkers, the advocators. In fact, so much so, I say to people who think they're targeting men, talk to women. Because women will influence men more than men will influence other men. So the business of the future is female-informed because there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously. And that's what these 2 days of Inspirefest, I hope, have demonstrated to a huge amount of people. Because when you have women working with you, bringing a different perspective, a different understanding of whole different audiences, again, oh my God, the money to be made. But there's not just a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously. There is a huge amount of happiness to be made out of taking women seriously. Men, talking to you again, we live in a world where the default setting is always male. Men, you have no idea how much happier you would be living and working in a world that was 50-50 equally, informed, influenced, designed, managed, led, and driven by women just as much as men. This is where I take issue with Sheryl Sandberg's exhortation to lean in. Because Sheryl wants you to lean in within the existing system, and I want you to redesign the system. And when we redesign the system equally, we design a business world that is far happier and far more productive for everybody to work in. Fortunately, we actually have a role model out there in popular culture right now of what that world could look like, not necessarily look like, but what that world could be like when we work together in a completely different way to the way we're working in currently. How many of you have seen Mad Max Fury Road? Guys, not enough. Get yourselves to the cinema ASAP. How many of you have seen the Mad Max feminist Tumblr? Whoa, even less. Okay. So, for those of you who have seen Mad Max Fury Road, and absolutely no spoilers, but the wonderful thing about it is that the hero of Mad Max Fury Road really isn't Tom Hardy as Max, it's Charlize Theron as Imperator Furiosa. And this fact has been highlighted by the Mad Max feminist Tumblr, which actually kind of mashes up two memes, because it takes the Ryan Gosling Hey Girl and puts it into Mad Max. But here are a few pages from the Mad Max feminist Tumblr. Hey girl, here's an idea, but it's up to you. You're the boss of this operation. Hey girl, I drive. Or you can drive, that's cool. Actually, can I nap while you drive? Do you ever sleep? Hey girl, I'll be your supporting character. Hey girl, it's not possible to survive alone out here. Thanks for rescuing me. Hey men, it's not possible to survive alone out there. You need us to help rescue you. Hey girl, you can use my shoulder as a rifle stand, as you're the better shot of the two of us. We will be working in a far better world when we take turns using shoulders as rifle stands, because we acknowledge that there are better shots within both genders, and that when we work together in a true partnership, it's not about ego, it's not about outdated stereotypes, it's not about well-worn tropes. It's about a whole different way of partnership that is way more productive and way happier for all of us. We don't have enough of these sorts of role models out there. I'm leaving Dublin tomorrow. I'm flying to London, and then on Sunday I'm flying to Cannes, to the International Advertising Festival, where for the first time Cannes have introduced a new award, the Glass Lion. It's an award that I gather was actually suggested by Sheryl Sandberg, and this is an award that is designed to celebrate advertising that shatters gender stereotypes. And I'm honored to be the jury president of the judges for that award. So that's what I'll be doing in Cannes, judging and then presenting the award at the awards ceremony on Tuesday night. And there's been some confusion in our industry about exactly what advertising this award is designed to celebrate. And I've been very clear on making the point that the Glass Line is not about celebrating advertising that shows wildly empowered women being wildly empowered about everything. It's designed to celebrate advertising that reflects the world around us as it really is. And the world around us as it really is requires partnership, and it requires equal partnerships, and it needs to hold up and model aspirational partnerships that are gender equal. And incidentally, guys, I just want to make the point that everything I say in my talk about gender also applies to race, ethnicity, sexuality. True disruption and innovation comes from lots of different mindsets, perspectives, worldviews coming together in constructive creative conflict to get to a better place that none of us could have gotten to on our own. And so this final slide from the Mad Max feminist Tumblr seems peculiarly apposite for the wonderful audience at Inspirefest and for the wonderful speakers. Hey girl, I've never seen such a group of varied, complex, and badass female action heroes. I'm glad to be riding with you. And that's what I would like all of the men here and all of the men in the Irish tech industry and all of the men in the tech world and the business world at large to be thinking about all of us going forwards. The sixth principle is invent the future. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Alan Kay, who said, in order to predict the future, you have to invent it. I'm all about inventing the future. And I'm struck by the fact that a lot of people seem to feel that the future is something that just happens, rolls you over in its wake. I was doing a speed mentoring session at an ad industry conference in London last Friday, where each of us veterans of the industry sat around, a bit like speed dating, and young people in the industry had 6 minutes with each of us. And I was struck by, and this is no reflection on the mentees, by the way, because this is the way we tend to grow up thinking. I was struck by the innate passivity of many of the questions I was asked. Cindy, what do you think the future of the advertising industry will be? How can I find a job in a big agency? To which my answers were, the future of the advertising industry will be what you and I make it. And you don't want to find a job in a big agency. You want to decide what you want to do, and then you want to go and tell that big agency what they're missing and how enormously lucky they are that you identified it for them and how you're willing to come and do it for them if they pay you enough. So the thing that I really, really want to say to all of you, off the back of the amazing 2 days that we have spent together, and by the way, I do want to pay credit to, many in the audience, and I've given you a bit of a hard time. I do want to thank you enormously for being here, because you have seen the future. I gave a talk a few months ago at eBay in New York. eBay invite in people from the tech world to do fireside chats. They open them up to anybody in the audience who wants to come, in the company wants to come. And so I talked about a whole bunch of things to a group of eBay employees. And afterwards, one of them came up to me. He was a young man, a programmer, and he said that he had just joined eBay from MIT. And he said, at MIT, we get amazing speakers, because obviously MIT draws the best of the best. So we get to listen to the absolute creme de la creme of the tech world. And he said, they're all white men, and they're all brilliant, but they all say pretty much the same kind of thing. He said, I've never heard anybody talk about the things that you talk to us about today. And that's the difference. When you come to a conference with 70% female speakers and 70% female attendees, you hear different things. You learn different things. You see different things. You are inspired by different things. And so every single one of you sitting in this audience today, you have the power to take everything you've learned, everything that's inspired you, everything you've seen, everything you've discussed, and go out there and invent the future. Because the future of your business, your industry, your sector, whatever it is, can be anything you want it to be. Especially because I can promise you there are, regrettably, very few other people who are genuinely doing this. And so please go out there and invent the future, and don't forget, when you do a shit ton of good, make a shit ton of money, and come back and fund all of us. Thank you very much.